Welcome to the Q1 Buck Pull. Tim Hart and Mike Big Buck Hoffner. Well, we've got Bucks, and more Buck stories on today's show.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's been a great start to the season. In spite of the EHD, a lot of deer have been brought in. Everybody's doing well except for old man Buck Hoffner.
Old man Buck Hoffner has been zeroed out so far.
Had deer, but you know what? I've been practicing quality deer management, and I have let a lot of bucks go this year.
All right, well, if I'm out there with the camera, we need to take one of those
All
bucks.
right.
The season is closing. December 31st is the last date that you can register your deer here on the Q1 Buck Pull, so take note of that and get out in the woods. Bucks or does, get them registered. This week we have hunter stories from Ray C's Extreme, the Lapeer County Buck Pull. It was an awesome time, including a story about a 25-point buck. We've got the DNR Recruitment and Retention Manager, Dennis Fox, talking about youth mentor hunting, and that whole program is an excellent program by the DNR.
Yeah, you know, and you don't just have to be a parent to be a mentor. I talked to one of my teachers this week, Jerry Frederick, and he knows somebody in his neighborhood. His parents do not hunt, but their son had a passion and wanted to go deer hunting. And I'll tell you what, Jerry took him out for the very first time. He said, man, it was electric in the woods. They saw some bucks, and he taught him the lesson about passing up a small one so it grew bigger for next year. But he said, man, was he excited.
I bet he might be. Ooh, I'm shaking. I'm sure he wanted to shoot. We also have a very interesting story. Austin Jones, who shot a doe out of a wheelchair, his first deer of the year, and he was just excited. And anytime you can take somebody out there and help them get in the outdoors, I think you need to do it.
Yeah, you know, it's a complete sport. You know, you can't let a disability get away in hunting, and I think Ray C's has done an excellent job of educating all of us about how the disabled hunter can still go out there and bag a deer.
More from the Country Smokehouse is also part of today's show, and then of course Tony LaPratte's going to close it all out. Today he's going to talk about, are you hunting from too big a food plot? We've got bucks featured from around the state. You can go online to q1buckpull.com and see the deer online, and Big Buck's going to be back with some featured hunters when we come back. You're watching the Q1 Buck Pull.
The Q1 Buck Pull is sponsored by these participating businesses who support the great outdoors in Michigan.
Tim Hart and Mike Big Buck Hoffner back here with you on the Q1 Buck Pull. Again, we invite you to be a part of the Q1 Buck Pull contest. Register a buck or a doe at any location across the state, and then you can take a look at them online at q1buckpull.com.
Well, speaking, Tim, of bucks and getting them registered, these folks did their job. Let's start out with Mike Hitchings from Scotts with a 10-point buck. The score was 49. Mark Richardson from Harrison's 10-pointer scores 49 and a quarter. Dale Hadley from Chelsea brought in an 11-point buck. The score 50 and a half. And Philip Johnson from Port Huron also bring in 11-point buck. His score was 51.
Okay, on opening day, I was at Ray C's Extreme in Lapeer, and they have a wonderful buck pull. Lots of people come together. They raise money for Team Wheelin' 457, so it's a great time in talking with those people. But how about a 25-point buck? I had a chance to talk to Billy Pfeiffer, and here's how his hunt went.
This year of 2012, I was invited to go to the west side of the state, 450 acres. 3 guys been hunting it for the past 40 years, and me and my wife went out there, and I ended up being highly favored and truly blessed. I come across the monstrosity of a deer. 25 points, I don't know what he weighed, but it's definitely a deer of a lifetime for me. I've never got him. He was about a 120-yard shot, 50 caliber black powder muzzle loader. I smoked him. When the smoke cleared, I said, praise God, and he walked probably another 20 yards, fell over, and the rest is here.
Well, I saw it coming from the side, from the right, and my dad whispered to me it was a buck, and I got my crossbow ready, and when it started coming and it looked right at me, I shot it from the side, and it ran about 50 yards.
I was out this morning, up on a platform, my buddy's place out in Duran, and he came in on my right, and he stayed out of my range, and he went all the way over, and then he was kind of where I had some bait out, and he turned around and he started walking away. And I followed him in my scope for a while, and finally I just took a shot, and I actually thought I missed him. He walked away at another 20 yards, so I shot again. And then he took off, and I waited a little while, got down, went back in the house, got the skid, came back out, and I started tracking him, and little bits of blood, not much, and then started finding big spots like the size of a softball about every 10 yards, and I kicked him up, and he started to run away, and I second shot, I must have hit him in the bottom of the stomach, and tore his belly was hanging out, looked like a softball hanging out in the bottom of his stomach. So bad shot, second one, but I actually think I hit him. The first one was right where it needed to be. I didn't need to shoot him again, but it was intense. First buck.
It's always fun to meet the hunters, especially on opening day. And you know, Mike, it doesn't make a difference if you get a big deer, a small deer, whatever kind of deer. Man, I got a story for you.
Now, I'll tell you what, we got to go to the UP sometimes, because up there was the 30-point buck is up there somewhere. And I'll tell you what, you want to hear some guys tell some stories, go to the UP.
Yeah. Each week I'm sitting next to you and I hear those stories. Most of them do not make the camera, so you know. Anyway, if you would like to take a look at a big buck, also, you can get registered right now on our Manitoba whitetail hunt we're giving away with lastminutehuntingandfishing.com. Go online to Q1 Buck Poll, click on the link, get yourself registered. The guy who won the Saskatchewan deer hunt last year brought home a big Canadian buck.
I'll tell you what, it's probably one of the places before I go, I want to spend some time in Saskatchewan. Sounds like a great place that grows great deer.
All right, when we come back, we're going to be talking to the DNR about the Youth Mentor Program. Dennis Fox will be with us. Stay tuned. You're watching the Q1 Buck Poll. We're fortunate to live in the great state of Michigan with millions of acres of recreational land, 11,000 inland lakes, and for a lot of people, it's a dream come true to own their own piece of property. Today I've got Randy Steck with us. He's a Senior Vice President of Sales and Customer Relations at Greenstone Farm Credit Services. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tim.
Now, Greenstone has been a proud sponsor of the Q1 Buck Poll for a number of years, and you've really helped thousands of Michigan residents own a piece of recreational land.
Yes, we have provided financing for thousands of folks across the state, and we're very happy to be part of that dream building process.
And Greenstone has a number of outdoor enthusiasts on staff, but you also have locations all over the state too.
Yes, our 31 offices are conveniently located to the bulk of the customers that we do business with, and we encourage those folks to stop in and talk to us. We share a lot of the same values and beliefs that the outdoors community has, and many of our staff actually enjoy the same activities.
Randy, there's a lot of different programs too, aren't there?
Yes, we can provide financing for up to 30 years and a fixed rate of interest for as little as 20% down.
Well, Randy, when we were talking outside, you talked about loans as long as 30 years, as little as 20% down. You've got all different types of programs, but what sets Greenstone apart?
Really, it's the people that work here at Greenstone and the solutions that we can provide to folks and helping them with their dream purchase. And whether it's, a lot of these customers have not had a lot of experience in purchasing real estate or dealing with a lender, so we can walk them through that process and really provide a lot of value, expertise and advice to help folks through that process.
And if I want to learn more and get more information?
You can check us out on the web, give us a call, or stop by any one of our 31 offices throughout the state of Michigan.
And he talks about the 31 offices. That's 31 locations where you can register your buck or doe in the Q1 Buck Poll. They can take care of you. Randy, thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
All right, Randy Steck's been with us from Greenstone Farm Credit Services. I'm Tim Hart, and you're watching the Q1 Buck Poll. Back here on the Q1 Buck Poll, well, before we talk to the DNR about the Youth Mentor Program, we've got more deer from Big Buck Hoffner.
All right, Tim, let's start out with Randy Lauk from Stanwood, Michigan, 14-pointer. The score was 52. Jose Rios from Emley City with an 11-point buck. The score 52 1/4. And Andy Borders from Adrian, Michigan also brought an 11-point buck in. The score 54 3/4.
You know, one of the things that is always fun to hear about, and that is somebody taking a kid out hunting and they have some success. The person that takes them out, I think, is more excited about the kid's success than the kids sometimes.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a kid. I brought my middle child out this weekend. I didn't get a buck, but he shot Captain Hook that had a hook on the side of his head. It had to be gleaned out of the herd. But he's 27. Brought him out. He shot his very, very first buck with me. He doesn't get a chance to hunt very much because he's doing his residency in Pittsburgh. But I'll tell you what, he shot that buck. He was fired up. He was happy. And I just watched the whole thing unravel. It made me feel good inside.
Well, I would tell you, as I said about the people taking somebody out and getting excited, I got the text and the picture as they were kind of gutting that deer. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, he sent it out to all the residents in Pittsburgh, too. And so he was just fired up, and he's got bragging rights when he goes back to the hospital.
What's the Youth Mentor Program all about with the DNR? Here's Dennis Fox. Dennis Fox is with us now. He is the DNR's Recruitment and Retention Manager. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the mentored youth program out there, because I think that's something that is just awesome. Have you heard from any of the hunters out there that have taken youth out and have done some mentoring?
Yeah, we've got some great stories from the successful spring turkey hunting season because the mentor tags allowed them to go out earlier this year. And as a matter of fact, I've got my own personal experience with my 5- and 6-year-old daughters that went out with me this past weekend, and the 6-year-old, with my help, shot her first squirrel.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Well,
great.
and as a mentor, and not just a dad, but a mentor, taking somebody out there, it's got to be a big thrill seeing that youngster either get their first animal or whatever the case may be.
Very much so, and that's one of the primary reasons that the department worked with the legislature and the governor's office to get passage of the legislation that allowed for the mentored youth hunt, was to allow those parents and guardians who are the closest to the youth and they know the most about them to decide when they want them and when they're ready to go out and ready to go hunting.
Well, and you want to take them out safely, and you don't want to just say, hey, you're 12 or you're 14 or whatever the case may be. Here's a gun or here's a bow. You go over here, I'm going over here. I think it's great when you have that chance to share that time together, because it's more than just shooting at an animal.
It is. Safety is, one of the primary, key components of this. And, we tell people that call or have questions and stuff, it's like the kids don't have to do the shooting. They don't have to harvest an animal. Even if you want to take them out and get them out in the woods and enjoy the time with them, what you're doing is you're mentoring them. You're passing along the knowledge that you have, the skills that you have onto the youth so that they can, be those hunters and anglers and trappers of the future.
Dennis, what does the license cost?
The mentored youth hunting license is $7.50, and it's a great bargain because the youth will get a all species fishing license, they'll get a fur harvester license, they'll get 2 deer tags, and they get turkey licenses so they can hunt in the spring and the fall, plus they get a small game license.
Well, that's kind of the best deal out there.
It is, great. It is, very much so.
Well, and I find, too, that there's a number of hunters who have taken deer year after year after year, and it's like, well, I'm just going to go out and get my deer. Well, here's a chance for them to, again, pass along the knowledge and really spend quality time with a youngster.
Yes, and that's what this program is all about, is getting those kids outside and passing along that information. And if a mentor wants to get involved, there's a lot of different ways they can do it. We have information on our webpage.
Why is this so important to Michigan?
Michigan historically has been one of the states that's had a trouble with the replacement ratio. So for every hunter that leaves, we have about 25 out of 100 that we're recruiting new hunters. And so what we're hoping is that the earlier we can get kids involved with their parents and the guardians, the more chance that they're going to stay involved. Studies show that if you get a youth involved in an activity prior to 10 years old, there's a high likely chance that they're going to stay with it. Stay with it and then pass on the heritage to the next generation. Yes, very much so. All right, hey, thanks for being with us. All right, thank you very much. Great information from the DNR about the Youth Mentor Program, and all the segments that we've done with the DNR are online at q1buckpole.com. Stay tuned. When we come back, we've got more hunter stories. We're also going to be at the Country Smokehouse. We've got a special story about a doe being taken by a youngster in a wheelchair, and then Tony LaPratt will round it out talking about are you hunting too big of a food plot? Stay with us. You're watching the Q1 Buckpole.
Well, we've got more hunter stories, including a story with Austin Jones. He shot his first deer from a wheelchair, and what a great story from this youngster. But before we do that, Mike Big Buck Hoffner's got some more big bucks.
We got some dandies on this segment. Let's start out with Roger Frulich from Battle Creek with 11-pointer, score 55.5. Austin Wilson from Flushing, Michigan with a 15-pointer, the score 56.25. And finally, Billy Pfeiffer from Durand, the 25-point buck, the score 60.75.
You know, up in the UP, they say that's a 25-pointer.
A 25 plus 5 makes 30.
Who knows? Here's some hunter stories from Ray C's Extreme.
I was out of a construction trailer, and a doe came in right at dark, and I saw it, and I hit it in the leg, and it ran. We went and tracked it the next morning, and we found it, and I hit the artery in the leg, so I was excited.
Well, Austin was hunting with a crossbow, and we put the butt here next to him, and then I hold the forend, and then I pull the trigger with my thumb, and then Austin sights through the scope. I can't see what he's shooting at because I gotta look like this, and then he tells me up, down, left, right, and then finally shoot.
So it's got to be a lot of fun to be with your son out in the outdoors and have success like you did today.
Oh yeah, that's great.
All right, here's some more hunter stories from opening weekend.
We were hunting in Midland Swamp just outside Deckerville. 3:30 on opening day. Buck came through, back behind us, about a 100-meter shot. Knocked it down. Went over to check it to start counting the horns, and he decided to get back up and give me a good scare. When he fell back down, went back over and counted his horns, and I counted right, an 8-point.
About my 28th hour in the blind on day 2, Western UP Central Time Zone. Packing up for the day, tied up my garbage bag, tied up my backpack, and looked back down at the bait pile where there's a bunch of doe and fawns, and I looked down and saw him, and couldn't see him because my binoculars were put away, so I had to sight him in through my scope, and it was right at dusk, and saw the horns, released the safety, shot the deer. He ran about 30 yards and up into thick brush, and a little nervous I might have lost him, but he was right there waiting for me.
Was out hunting Thursday morning, about a half hour after daybreak. Had this guy come in and got him with 2 shots.
All right, had you ever seen him before?
First time seeing him.
Is this your biggest buck?
This would be the biggest one so far, yep.
Okay. Anything unusual? Did you just, how high up were you in your stand and that sort of thing?
Actually, I just have a pile of limbs that I add to every year, and so hadn't even been out scouting yet this year. I just walked out there Thursday morning and brushed out some leaves and sat down, and like I said, about 45 minutes after that, came in.
It's always great to hear the hunter stories from around the state. And if you got a great story this year, you got some video footage you'd like to share with us, you can contact me and we'll get you on TV. Now here's Tony LaPratte from Ultimate Land Management and the Whitetail Boot Camp talking about, are you hunting too big a food plot?
Today we're going to talk about, are you hunting on too big of a food plot? Most guys are setting on a food plot that is just way too big. And what this means is when you're sitting on a food plot that is huge, is most likely it's a deer's nighttime bedding area too. It's where they're going to spend most of the night. So you're sitting in your stand and all these deer are coming out and it looks all great. And you got tons of does all around your stand. But now it starts to get dark and no one's leaving because that's where they plan on staying late until the night. So now you get down out of your stand, all the deer take off, they seen where you got down from, you hunt 3 days in a row, every deer now is staring at your tree, they're all feeding on the opposite side of the field. That's why when people are talking about kill food plots, satellite food plots, all these different terms, they are important. What we love to do is go back in the woods and put in these little bitty food plots. They are not meant to feed these deer. It's a stopping point. So what happens now, all the deer come out of the thick cover, they stop at this little food plot, they don't spend 10 minutes, and they move out to the big field. And now the deer keep funneling away from us, coming in, moving out. And now when the big buck comes, it's me and him, all the does have moved out farther to the big field. When it gets dark, that little food plot has nobody underneath you. Now you climb down and leave, and nobody knows where your stand is, and you keep the deer moving at the same time. This is how you need to hunt. So start putting your stands back in a little farther. You can't be right on the edge of a big food plot because you can't get out of it. And I'm Tony LaPratte, and that's your tip of the week for the Q1 buck pole.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's Q1 Buck Poll. We remind you that you can go online to win a Manitoba whitetail hunt from lastminutehuntingandfishing.com. Just go online, it's free, type in a little information, hit send, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we're getting closer to the end of the season. There's still deer to be brought in. Get them registered. We got tons of great prizes.
Not only that, but every deer that's registered, you're going to get $25 in premium play money to go to the Soaring Eagle on March 2nd during that weekend. And we're going to be there giving away all kinds of great prizes, including the ATV. And what a great way to go there. You got a little $25 to spend. It's a good time.
Can't lose.
Not really.
Sounds like a winner to me.
You can't lose unless you're sitting next to old Big Buck Hoffman like I. Oh, no, I consider myself a winner sitting next to you. You know that?
Thank you, sir.
That's a good deal. For Mike Big Buck Hoffner, I'm Tim Hart. Thanks for watching this week's edition of the Q1 Buck Poll. Remember, anytime you're out in the woods, be safe.
We'll get there.
Okay.
You got to throw the UP in there.
Okay. Hang on. We got the dirty pointer.
Don't eat yellow snow.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's what they say in the UP.
I just want you to know.
Yellow
say
snow.
what you want, and then I will go from there.
All right.
Okay? If
You
that
just
means
do it.
that I go like this, well, we do that. All right? You ready?
I'm ready.
Hey, that was the point there, eh? Huh? Eh? I didn't want to have him get a word out because he might have said that 30-point fuck again.
He is the host of the show, isn't he, Daryl? Or am I?
No, you're just
the real host?
You're just the old youper sitting next to
I'm
me
the
there.
old youper, the old gray-haired youper that's the host. You get with it.
Hey, shit, you.
He told me the afternoon was his time.
I am, but I'm hungry.
Yeah, I can tell.
I'm hungry. We had no.
You're hungry and thirsty.
Yeah, take you very
Okay,
much.
let's do this.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's Q1 Buck Poll. Where Ready, 2, 1.